You know, love isn't just about feelings we whisper in the dark. It's about courage. It's about showing up, not just for yourself, but for the people who matter to the person you love. And sometimes that means taking a deep breath and having a conversation with their family, because when you talk with their family, you're not just talking to them, you're showing respect, you're showing commitment, and most importantly, you're showing love. And love, real love, it's patient, it's brave, it listens, and it builds bridges, even when it's uncomfortable. Today, I want to talk to you about why that conversation matters and why stepping into that space is one of the most profound ways to honor love. I want to start by saying something simple, but it carries weight, and I hope you feel it as deeply as I do. Love is not just about the moments we share alone. Love is not only about the whispers, the smiles, the gentle touches that happen when no one else is around. Love is also about the choices we make in the world outside of us. It's about courage. It's about showing up fully and honestly for the person we care about and for the people who have shaped them, the people who have guided them, the people who hold pieces of their life story that no one else can fully know. And this is why talking with family matters. There's a certain vulnerability in opening that door, a certain bravery required to step into the spaces that are unfamiliar or intimidating. Because when you decide to speak with my family, you're not just speaking to them, you are speaking to a part of me that I carry with me every day, a part of me that has roots, history, and memories intertwined with theirs. And acknowledging that is an act of love, not only toward me, but toward the life I've grown from the love of others. It's easy to think love is just about the two of us, about the quiet and private moments that make the heart swell and the soul feel at home. But the reality is, love is bigger than that. Love is about connection. It is about the ripples we make that extend beyond ourselves. When you make the effort to connect with my family, you are saying something profound without saying a single word. You are saying that you care enough to step into the lives that have helped shape me, that you recognize that who I am today is not just the sum of my own experiences, but the reflections, teachings, and guidance of those who came before. And in doing so, you are showing respect, not because respect is demanded, but because respect is the natural language of love. There is an honesty in family. They may not always understand. They may have doubts. They may ask questions. They may challenge you. And that's part of what makes it sacred, because love that is untested is fragile. Love that steps into the light, that shows itself in the presence of those who know us best, is resilient. It becomes deeper, richer, and more meaningful. When you talk with my family, you are opening a channel of trust. You are saying that the bond we share is not fragile, that it can withstand scrutiny and still remain strong. You are saying that your love is not just a story between two people hidden in private, but a story that is brave enough to step into the world, to embrace the people who carry pieces of that story in their own hearts. This conversation is not always easy. I know that. I know sometimes it comes with anxiety, with the fear of being misunderstood, of saying the wrong thing, of feeling like you are on unfamiliar ground. And yet, love often asks us to move past our comfort, to lean into the discomfort, to speak even when our voices shake. Because it is in those moments of uncertainty, in the moments when we feel vulnerable and exposed, that love shows its true strength. It shows its resilience, and it shows its beauty. Every word spoken to my family, every gesture, every smile, every honest answer becomes a brick in the foundation of a love that is meant to last. I want you to imagine for a moment what it means to step into their presence, to sit at a table with the people who have shaped my life, who have guided me, nurtured me, and watched me grow, to see their eyes, to feel their questions, to hear their stories, and to respond not with defensiveness, but with openness, to respond not with fear, but with the understanding that love is bigger than fear. That love is about empathy and patience and listening, not just to me, but to the people who carry the pieces of me that they know so well. There is a sacredness in that. There is a grace in that. And by stepping into that space, you are allowing our love to breathe, to grow, and to become something more than just two hearts beating in isolation. You are allowing it to become part of a larger story, a story that weaves together our pasts, our families, and our hopes for the future. And love is patient, love waits. Love doesn't demand immediate acceptance or effortless understanding. Love allows room for doubt, for questions, for hesitation, because love knows that connection is built over time. And this is why talking with my family is not just a single moment, but a process. It is about showing up again and again with sincerity, with kindness, with humility, and with honesty. It is about recognizing that the people who raised me, who watched me stumble and learn, who offered guidance and care are part of the ecosystem of my heart. And when you step into that ecosystem with respect and openness, you are not only honoring them, but you are honoring the love we share. Sometimes love is quiet. Sometimes love is loud. Sometimes it is expressed in grand gestures, and sometimes in small ones. And sometimes love is expressed in the willingness to have a conversation that might feel intimidating, uncomfortable, or unfamiliar, because love is not always about comfort. It is about commitment. It is about showing that you are willing to step into the spaces that matter to the person you love, that you are willing to honor their story, their roots, and the people who helped shape them. And there is something beautiful in that, something profound. Because when love is courageous, it transforms. When love is courageous, it grows. When love is courageous, it becomes a force that connects not just two hearts, but families, histories, and futures. And I want you to feel that courage, not as a burden, but as an opportunity. Because to talk with my family is not to prove yourself, it is not to perform, and it is not to earn anything. It is to show up authentically as yourself with your own love, your own respect, your own truth. And in doing so, you create space for understanding, for connection, and for something that is far more enduring than a fleeting moment of approval. You create space for a love that is alive, present, and shared across generations. There is a quiet power in this, a quiet grace, a quiet beauty that cannot be measured, only felt. When you speak with my family, when you open your heart and mind to them, you are demonstrating that love is more than just words. Love is action, love is presence, love is the willingness to lean into uncertainty, to step into a space that is not yours by birth, but can become yours by respect and care. And there is something eternal in that, something that lingers long after the conversation ends, something that echoes in the heart, in the home, in the story of who we are together. And as you move forward with that conversation, I want you to carry a sense of peace, of understanding, and of love that is unshakable. Because this is not about perfection. It is not about flawless execution or flawless words. It is about sincerity. It is about showing that you are willing to meet them, to hear them, to honor them, and through that to honor me. And love in its truest form is not complicated. It does not require artifice. It requires authenticity, courage, and a willingness to connect in ways that matter most. There is something sacred in seeing the people who raised me and caring enough to make space for them in our journey. There is something transformational in letting them see your heart, letting them hear your voice, letting them witness the love that has grown between us. And in that moment, in that simple act of connection, something profound happens. Trust is built, respect is deepened, love grows roots that extend beyond us, beyond our relationship, beyond our own understanding, into the lives of those who have nurtured, guided, and loved me before you ever arrived. And so I ask you to see this not as a challenge, but as an honor, not as a hurdle, but as a bridge. Because when you speak with my family, when you open that door, you are opening the door to a love that is wider, deeper, and more enduring than anything we could ever imagine alone. You are stepping into the rhythm of our story, into the heartbeat of connection, and into the space where love becomes something greater than just a feeling. It becomes a living, breathing presence that unites hearts across generations. When we speak of love, we often think of it as something that exists only between two people, something private, something sacred in its own quiet way. But love, real love, does not live in isolation. It moves, it breathes, it reaches beyond the walls we build around ourselves. And one of the most profound ways it extends is through family, through the people who hold pieces of the one we love that we cannot possibly know on our own. Talking with my family is more than a gesture. It is an acknowledgement that love is a force that exists not only in the space between us, but also in the spaces that shaped us before we ever met. It is an act of respect, yes, but it is also an act of understanding. It is a way of saying, without words, that you recognize that who I am is part of something larger than just myself, and that you are willing to step into that something larger with care, patience, and openness. There is a vulnerability in this. It is a vulnerability that demands courage, because when we approach family, we approach not just individuals, but histories, memories, traditions, and emotions that have been built over years, sometimes decades. There are expectations, assumptions, and sometimes unspoken questions that linger in the air, waiting for answers we may not yet have fully formed. And yet, it is precisely this vulnerability that allows love to become stronger, more resilient, and more profound. It is when we face uncertainty, when we confront the unknown with sincerity, that the heart expands, that empathy grows, and that the bond between two people deepens beyond words alone. Talking with my family is not a test, though it may feel like one. It is not a hurdle to overcome, though it may seem daunting. It is an opportunity, a sacred opportunity, to demonstrate the authenticity of your love, to show that it is willing to step outside the safe spaces and into the real, messy, beautiful world of connection. When you take the step to speak with my family, you are embracing an important truth, that love is not just about desire or comfort. Love is about recognition. It is about seeing the person you care for as part of a larger web of relationships, understanding that their life is intertwined with others who have given them guidance, support, and care. By approaching my family with sincerity, with honesty, and with openness, you honor the fullness of my existence. You acknowledge that I am not just a collection of moments with you, but a person shaped by love, history, and connection that predates us both. And there is something sacred in that recognition, something transformative, because love that embraces the whole story of a person is love that can endure, love that can grow, love that can weather the inevitable storms that life presents. It is important to recognize that this conversation is not about proving yourself or earning approval. It is not a performance, and it is not a negotiation. It is a meeting of hearts, a dialogue of respect, and an act of generosity. To sit down with my family is to give them a window into your heart, to allow them to witness the depth of your feelings, your intentions, and your commitment. And in doing so, you are creating space for trust. You are creating space for understanding. You are creating space for a love that is not only shared between two people, but recognized and honored by those who have been a part of the foundation of that life. There is a grace in this, a quiet dignity that flows from the simple act of showing up authentically, of being present, and of expressing love through action rather than mere words. Love is patient, but it is also active. It waits, yes, but it also moves. It is not passive. It does not shrink from challenges or uncertainties. And this is why talking with my family is so important. It requires action. It requires courage. It requires the willingness to step into spaces that may feel unfamiliar or intimidating. But love that is willing to take these steps is love that grows roots deep into the earth, roots that anchor it in trust, in respect, and in shared humanity. It is love that becomes not just a fleeting emotion, but a living, breathing presence that nurtures everyone it touches. Every conversation, every question, every moment of sincere listening becomes a thread in a tapestry of connection, weaving together not just our hearts, but the hearts of those who shaped us long before we met. Sometimes fear can make this step feel impossible. Fear of judgment, fear of misunderstanding, fear of not being enough. And it is natural to feel these things because vulnerability always carries with it a certain degree of discomfort. But love asks us to move past fear, not by denying it, but by embracing it with courage and compassion. To speak with my family is to embrace that fear and still choose to act. It is to recognize that the discomfort is temporary, but the connection it fosters can last a lifetime. By showing that you are willing to face this moment, you are showing that your love is not fragile. You are showing that it can withstand scrutiny, it can withstand questions, it can withstand the reality of the world outside our private moments. And in doing so, you are building something enduring, something that will continue to grow long after this conversation has ended. There is a profound beauty in listening. When you talk with my family, you are not only speaking, you are listening. You are listening to their stories, their memories, their perspectives, and their hopes for the future. You are listening to the echoes of the past that have shaped who I am today. And in that listening, you demonstrate empathy, respect, and understanding, qualities that are at the heart of every meaningful relationship. It is not enough to speak eloquently or to offer gestures of kindness. True love is reflected in the depth of our listening, in our willingness to understand the people who matter to the ones we love. Every pause, every question, every moment of attention becomes a declaration that you value the person I am because of them, and that your love is willing to include the people who have been a part of that journey. Love is also about patience. It is about allowing time for understanding to develop, for trust to grow, for hearts to align in ways that may not be immediate. Conversations with family are not always resolved in a single sitting. They may require multiple moments, multiple interactions, and multiple opportunities to demonstrate sincerity and commitment. And that is part of the beauty of it. Love is not a race. Love does not demand immediate perfection. Love is a process, a journey, a series of choices made every day to show up authentically, to act with kindness, to honor the lives of those we care about. By choosing to engage with my family over time, you demonstrate that your love is enduring, not fleeting, that it is grounded, not superficial, and that it is capable of growing stronger through connection rather than shrinking from challenge. And when you take this step, something remarkable happens. You create bridges where walls once stood. You turn uncertainty into understanding. You transform questions into conversations and skepticism into trust. The act of talking with my family is not simply a formality or obligation. It is an expression of love that transcends words. It is a demonstration that your commitment is not limited to what is convenient, but is willing to embrace what is meaningful, what is real, and what is lasting. It is an act of generosity because you are giving your time, your attention, and your heart not just to me, but to the people who have nurtured and supported me. And that generosity does not go unnoticed. It creates a ripple effect that strengthens every relationship, every bond, every thread of connection that exists between us. Love, in its truest form, requires honesty, it requires transparency, and it requires the courage to be fully seen, even when it feels uncomfortable or uncertain. By speaking with my family, you are embracing that honesty. You are showing that you are willing to reveal the depth of your feelings, your intentions, and your commitment. And in doing so, you allow love to flourish in ways that are profound, transformative, and enduring. There is a sacredness in this honesty, a quiet power that cannot be measured but can only be felt. It resonates in the heart, it strengthens the spirit, and it nurtures the bonds that make our lives richer, fuller, and more meaningful. And so when you approach my family, I want you to carry not fear, but courage, not doubt, but conviction, not hesitation, but authenticity. Because this is not about winning approval or performing perfectly. It is about showing up with sincerity, with care, and with a willingness to embrace the full story of the person you love. By doing so, you are creating a foundation for a love that is resilient, enduring, and capable of withstanding the tests of time, circumstance, and challenge. You are creating a love that is alive, present, and inclusive, a love that extends beyond the two of us into the lives of those who have helped shape who I am and who will continue to be a part of our journey together. Love is often spoken about in whispers, in quiet moments that only two people share, in gestures that only we can feel. But love, real love, is never content to remain small. It reaches beyond the space of our private hearts. It seeks to touch, to honor, and to connect with all the pieces of life that have helped shape the person we hold dear. And this is why talking with my family matters, not as a formality, not as a requirement, not as a challenge, but as an essential act of love. It is a step that demonstrates commitment, understanding, and the courage to meet not only the person you love, but the people who have loved them before you ever arrived. To approach my family with sincerity is to acknowledge the depth of connection that forms the foundation of a life lived fully, a life woven from memories, guidance, lessons, and care that extend across generations.